what was the last thing you learned that made a difference in your life?
I would say
Don't worry about
Me personally, every day.
The main thing that I've been learning recently is realizing what's
Hi guys, my name is Gabriel. I'm from Brazil, and today I'm going to be interviewing some people on the streets of London. Let's see how it goes. Hi, so if you could tell me your name and a bit about yourself?
I'm Eva. I'm half Greek. I'm from London. I'm 18 and I'm currently training at dance uni.
Oh, interesting. So one thing I wanted to ask you is, what was the last thing you learned that made a difference in your life?
I would say the feeling of being uncomfortable. I've learnt that it's actually good because it's normally associated with negative connotations. But when you're putting yourself in new situations, new experiences, and put yourself out of your comfort zone, you can learn so much about like who you are, what you like, and it affects your life. Because then, if for example, if you pick up a new hobby, you might just feel better.
Could you maybe tell us something that, like the last thing that you did, that you went out of your comfort zone besides this interview?
Besides this interview, well, I actually got a class pass trial the other week for £1, and you can do like different classes throughout the week. So on Monday, I went to this Pilates place with my friend, and then on Tuesday, yesterday, I did a boxing class, which was so much fun, and I've always wanted to try boxing. And
Me too, actually.
really, yeah, you should. It's so much fun. And today I did a spinning class, which I've done before, but like it's just really interesting trying different forms of exercise because you kind of like realize what your favorite way of exercising is. And like I said before, I dance, but I feel like it's really important to try like different types of exercise, because when you're like so focused on one, it's good, but like when you try different forms, it's cross training and you can get better at your current sport, and you just find a new way to have fun, really.
Hi, can you tell me your name and a bit about yourself?
My name's Ash. What would you like to know about myself?
Do you live in England? Are you British?
Okay, so my culture, my grandparents were born in India. They emigrated to Africa. My parents were born and raised in Africa, Uganda.
Oh wow.
And then I was born here. So my grandparents and my parents, 2 generations of refugees, and then I was born with British culture, but with 2 other cultures, 3 cultures. So I'm confused.
Very interesting, man. So do you feel like Ugandan culture has a big influence in you as much as the Hindu culture?
Well, they're very different, yeah? And I think that Ugandans are a little bit more stronger and Indians are a little bit more softer. But what I love about both is they have a beautiful, soft heart, and they both want to give with love and kindness. They do everything. Ugandans are some of the best workers and most honest, genuine people that you'll find. So there's beautiful qualities there. And Indians, in that way, I think, actually, I'm just discovering something about myself now.
That's beautiful.
Because in that way, like, Indians are they can be very devious and very business-minded. But Ugandans are very honest. And in that way, I think that's where my conflict may come from.
The difference there between the both.
Yeah. And British are a combination of the both. So maybe that's why I fit in here, but then sometimes it's difficult to fit in because of colour.
I see what you mean. So would you say you're more British or Ugandan or Hindu or just a mix of everything?
Well, look, by culture, I'm British. I was born here. Everything that I went to school with, everything that I learned, all of the people that I was around, all of the old ladies that looked after me when I was growing up, it's all British. So that's what I know, that's what I grew up with. All of my friends, everything that I'm around is England, is British. But with, let's say, British food with spice.
Definitely, man. So one question I wanted to ask you was, if you could tell me what was the last thing you learned that made a difference in your life?
So there's many things that I've learned that make differences in my life, and me personally, every day or every interaction, I'm trying to find something that can make me or make someone's day better. So like, there's always learning, but I think the deepest lesson that I love to give people, right, is that people don't understand you make all of your mistakes when you're happy. That's why you crash. So when you're happy, that's when you need to learn to balance and learn to balance your decisions, because in those moments where you're high and you're happy, you're flippant with your yes, and your yes becomes loose. It becomes really, okay, yeah, no worries. But then afterwards problems happen. But then you might be able to flick it off because you're still on a high. But the minute something goes wrong, you've crashed. So it's right. In darkness is where you learn all of your lessons. When you crash, because when you're high, you're just doing whatever.
You're
But
just
it's only
enjoying.
until you slow down, do you learn? So in both, in darkness and in light, the idea is to balance, especially when you're high. And and here's the thing: when you balance, when you're high, you're far likely to fall less. So you won't fall deeper into darkness. So the higher you tend to go, the deeper you fall in the opposite direction.
Yeah, as above, so below.
It's an equal opposite, right? But then what you try to do, you try to find balance in the high on both ends of the scale. And that's why they never work.
Thank you so much, Ash. Thank you. Namaste. So if you could tell me your name and a bit about yourself.
My name is Ben. I'm from Iran originally. I moved here when I was like 13. Went to school here, and yeah, I studied biomedical science. And I really don't want to do anything to do with that, but yeah, now I'm working as a teaching assistant and mentor. So I mentor secondary school kids, and I help with things like anger management, helping kids manage their emotions better, and yeah, helping with their well-being pretty much. But yeah, that's a little bit about me.
I didn't even know that was a thing, by the way, man. That's very interesting.
Well, the thing is, I kind of created that role in my department. It does exist, but I really thought and created the job description myself. But yeah, that's what I do, and I do one-to-one talks with students. Even though I'm really young myself, I probably need mentoring myself. I try to give them the best advice, try put them towards the right direction, because there's a lot of kids I work with that can easily go into the wrong paths, and I feel like I'm realizing I have an important role, and I do make an impact. And I think a lot of us in our jobs, we think like we have no impact, but most of the time our impacts are not measurable. And yeah, even this interview, for example, someone watching this is gonna gain something from it, and yeah, it's gonna make them feel better about themselves. So yeah.
Exactly, man. Exactly. We never know how much of a difference we make in someone else's life, right? So with that in mind, I wanted to ask you actually, what was the last thing you learned that made a difference in your life?
First of all, I really like that question. Made me think a bit. But I think the main thing that I've been learning recently is realizing what's actually energizing me in my life. The people that are energizing me, the people that are, helping me become a better person. And the things that are energizing me, like coming to the park here or going to the gym. And also realizing what things are really draining my energy, like my job and certain people that I shouldn't be probably hanging around with. But I think realizing that my energy is not unlimited, and realizing that there's a balance. And what I'm trying to do is find more things that energize me and make me feel more complete than feel less of myself. And that's been a big learning curve for me. So at the moment I'm struggling with the things that are draining me a lot in my life. So I'm trying to cut that out and focus on more positive things. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, and to be honest, it might be easy maybe to see what is draining our energy, right? But how easy it is to cut those things from your life, right? Because many things are part of our daily life, our habits, right? So how would you say you're dealing with that?
I think the main thing that I'm realizing is, what is my approach towards those things? What can I change, for example, at my job to enjoy it more? And just realizing that I can change how I feel and I can change how these things impact me. Ideally, yeah, I would cut them out, but yeah, that will take some time. But also, I think my own approach and my own well-being and how I feel internally definitely will like impact how I deal with those things. So yeah.
Thank you so much, brother. Thank you.
The question that we have is, what was the last thing that you learned that made a change in your life? You know?
That's a good question. Last thing we learned. Don't worry about what other people think. Sometimes, I think you shouldn't worry too much about what other people think. Maybe when you're younger, you spend too much time worrying about what other people think when you should not worry. Yeah, that's maybe something. It's.
Did you learn that recently? Then?
I think I learned it the hard way, but yeah, recently. So more in my early 40s.
So before your 40s, you were worried about
maybe
your
what
look.
other people thought. Yeah, or yeah.
And how did that? How do you think that affected your life? Before knowing that.
Maybe it held me back in certain ways. I don't know. Maybe I wasn't being my true self. Yeah, but I feel now I am.
Okay, that's a very good advice.
I think it's I mean, we often think about it, but I guess it's difficult to really live it, right? Of course, we sometimes think about, we shouldn't worry too much about what people think about us. But to truly live it is difficult.
Yeah. I think it's about letting go, and yeah, I think that's it's letting go. Yeah.
I feel that I learned that from a very young age.
Really?
Like as a teenager, I think we kind of, there's so much, especially in teenage years, there's so much, high school, and you're very judged all the time.
Yeah.
And I think maybe I learned that in a hard way as well.
Yeah.
But was younger, I guess.
I think my sadness is that I learnt it later on rather than earlier on when you did. So I'm glad that you've learned that now.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm touched by that.
So that was it, guys. What did you think? What about you? What was the last thing that you learned that made a difference in your life? If you could comment, or if you have any other questions for the people of London, just let me know in the comments. Thank you so much.